Hi guys, welcome back to another Hugh Jeffries video. In this video, I'm going to be fixing up this Samsung Galaxy S8 on the cheap by using parts from another faulty S8. I purchased this phone back in early 2019. It has a cracked and now dead OLED screen, cracked back panel, and its original battery in unknown condition. It appears this phone has never been in a case given the vast number of scratches over the whole device. When I received this device, all that was included was the phone itself, the original box, a micro USB cable, and two USB-C adapters. Unfortunately, no power adapter or headphones were included. As I said earlier, the display was still functioning when I first got this phone, and you can see here that I wasn't able to get any further as the touch didn't function. So about a year and a half later, it's about time I actually got this S8 up and running. To open the phone, I will be using a heat plate that I purchased for around $30. However, a heat gun could achieve the same thing. Using a pair of gardening gloves to protect my hands from the high heat, I allowed 5 minutes for the unit to preheat before I placed the S8 onto the plate at 80 degrees, leaving it for 3 minutes. After the 3 minutes, I could place a suction cup and try to create a gap between the back panel and the frame of the phone. I only need to make the gap big enough to insert a plastic pick, however 3 minutes just didn't cut it. So I placed the phone on for another 3 minutes at 80 degrees and tried again. At this point the phone had 6 minutes of heating time, although the adhesive was just so strong that it still wasn't separating. Now I just received this machine, so I'm unsure on how long I should be doing this for, so I flicked it over to 120 degrees Celsius and placed the phone for a further 6 minutes. Now at this point this phone was really hot, although I still had extreme difficulty in creating a gap. Now the extra difficulty could have been caused by the cracks in the back panel, although as you can see I was able to get quite a fair bit of grip with one suction cup. Using an iSlack LCD puller, you could see that it wasn't sticking to the front of the phone as the glass was too shattered. So I had to break out the metal jimmy tool and just break my way into the bottom of the phone. So I found using a heat plate to create a point of entry to be ineffective on this device. My previous heat gun method worked a bit better as I could concentrate around 150 to 200 degrees of heat to the lower part of the phone. However, once the pick was inserted, I was able to remove the back panel effortlessly as the whole phone was already hot and didn't require reheating partway through. With the adhesive removed, I'll use a spudger to disconnect the fingerprint reader sensor from the board. And then I can simply pull away the rear panel. I'll place the rear panel on the heat mat and I can remove the fingerprint reader, which we'll reuse later on. Now, to fix this phone, I'm actually going to be using one of the S8s from my previous $50 S8 Tech Lot video. All three phones have various issues. The one I'll be using has a faulty motherboard that constantly restarts, apps keep crashing, and weird graphical issues occur. Regardless, I'm going to be using the display and everything else in this housing, so I'll just swap across the motherboard. Repeating the same process as before, I can remove the rear panel and we can take a look at comparing the two devices. There are some subtle differences between the two. The donor phone has a blue motherboard, different looking camera, and damaged heart rate sensor. Starting with the donor phone, I'll remove its motherboard as that's the only faulty part inside. This way, I can create one working phone from two broken ones. Using a donor phone is a great way to save money if you happen to get a good deal on one. I got 3 for $50, or around $16 each. With replacement displays for the Galaxy S8 costing around $200 new, I scored pretty good with this one. Removing the wireless charging coil and speaker, I can then disconnect all of the attached wires to the motherboard and simply pull it out of the housing. Taking a closer look at this motherboard, you can see it's got refurbishment stickers on it, so I wouldn't be too surprised if it's had some kind of board repair done to it in China. So putting it aside for repair in the future or to practice some board repair on, I can now turn my attention over to the main device we're actually trying to fix. Now for this, I'm going to take the main board out of it and place it into the housing with the working display. I'll repeat the same process as I did earlier by removing the wireless charging coil, a bit of plastic, and the speaker at the lower half of the phone. Using a spudger, I can disconnect all of the cables connecting to the motherboard. Making sure to remove the SIM card tray first, I can simply lift it out of place. Putting it up against the donor phone's motherboard, you can see the lack of refurbishment stickers and marks throughout. It's clear to say that you should avoid these refurbished motherboards that you find on various websites online. I can now place the original motherboard into our donor phone's frame. Now I won't change over the charge port or battery, as the battery itself is brand new and the charge port will work perfectly in this device, as they are the same variant of Samsung Galaxy S8, the international version. I can simply connect all of the flex cables back up, reinsert the SIM card tray, and get the plastic pieces reinserted. The speaker had a little bit of dirt in it, so I cleaned that out before screwing it down into place. Now the speaker and wireless charging portions I took from the original phone itself and not the donor phone, although it doesn't matter which ones I use. Placing back in that wireless charging coil, I can reinstall the 8 screws securing it down into place. We've now got the phone assembled enough that I can test it out. So plugging in the USB-C cable, we can give the battery a chance to charge before I power on the S8, and thankfully we booted up into the setup screen. I can run through the setup, making sure that the phone actually activates and gets to the home screen, but then we can boot up into Samsung's diagnostic menu using the phone dialer, and in here we can test various functions of the phone, like the display, vibration, and various sensors. It's critical to do this not only to verify that the phone is functioning, but after we seal up the phone, it's going to be difficult to reopen it once again. After verifying that the phone is working, I'm going to transfer across the little sticker on the back of the battery, which just says the device's model number, serial, and IMEI. It's not critical, but it's just a nice little touch that's often overlooked. Before we seal up the phone, I'll need to remove any of the glue residue that's left behind from the old rear panel. Using some alcohol and a spudger, I can get most of it off. It doesn't need to be perfect, but you just want to make sure that the new rear panel will sit nice and flush. Reinstalling the fingerprint reader, it's now time to install the back glass. I had one already which has all the adhesive applied, so removing the protective films, I can line it up with the phone, pressing it down into place. Lastly, I can remove the protective film from the back, and we're done. So this is it, a fully functional Samsung Galaxy S8. This repair only cost around $30 thanks to using a faulty donor phone from a tech lot of broken Galaxy S8 phones. Using these two phones, I was able to make one fully working unit. As for the other, I can still use many of its components such as the charging port or speaker. I may even attempt to repair the motherboard someday. As for the working device, the screen we installed only has one noticeable scratch and is in otherwise new condition. The phone's software is also still running Android 8. And on that note, this has been a Hugh Jeffries video. If you like what you saw, hit that subscribe button and consider checking out the phone restoration playlist for more videos just like this one. And if you're looking for some helpful tips or what tools I use to repair devices, be sure to check out my website, link for which is down in the description. That's all for this video, and I'll catch you guys next time.